Today's Friday the 12th. It's the, let's see, we got out here Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday. Today's the third day of hunting. Well, if this was bird watching, man, we would be killing it right now. We'd be tagged out. Unfortunately for caribou, everything is still reported to be in zone 2 off the road system and out of my reach. But I'm not mad because I'm getting an incredible amount of hiking done. The hiking that I've done has really taken me back to a couple times in my life. So if you're only interested about caribou, go ahead and you can log out and just hang on for the next video, I guess. But if you're interested about me and my thoughts and, you know, just kind of hiking, hunting thoughts when you're out here, maybe a little bit of perspective on, you know, the kind of weirdo it takes to come out and do this kind of stuff even when there's no caribou around, then hang in, because you're in for a ride. I had some thoughts when I was on my way up. I was like, man, this is like some grueling hiking, and I realized that I was more tired today because yesterday I was counting my paces. The reason why I was doing this is because I wanted to test how close my pace was to a Roman legionary. I know, rabbit trail, but hang in there, okay? Because I've got a point. A mile was a measurement that the Roman legion used because it was 1,000 paces of a legionary. So logic would beg that 1,000 of my paces ought to be pretty close to a mile. So I was like, well, let me try that. And I have my topographical maps and everything else. I've got some maps on my phone and everything that help me with the hunt zones and so on and so forth. Really useful tool. I also have my little Garmin InReach that I can use to navigate if everything else fails or whatever. I mean, most of the time I can just look around and then see where I am. Like, oh yeah, obviously, you know, you look down the hill or whatever. You're like, I'm pretty sure I know where camp is because I can see it from here. Like, it's not a big deal. But I did 1,000 paces and I was like, hey, yeah, that's about a mile, and I was kind of excited about it. And then today, when I hit 1,000, I was like, I'm not in the same place at all. Like, I'm way short from where I was. And it took me till about 1,100 paces to get to where I was yesterday at 1,000. So yesterday I was on par for, you know, the Roman legion, and today I'm about 10% subpar. And I think that's because I ended up with a blister on my heel. This is the third day of, you know, hiking in and out coming up, and so I was like, wow, that's like, you know, 10% degradation in, you know, just a couple of days. Like, it's really starting to wear on me. But I had a couple of thoughts too when I was hiking up. I was like, you know, well, last time I really put in any miles like this was definitely in the, you know, in the Arctic. But in the course of my life, the most miles that I ever put in was I did a Bataan Memorial Death March, they called it, and I was basically in full military regalia and was carrying 45 pounds in my rucksack, and we did a whole marathon. And I tell you, it was really hard to do that march, but it was even harder to quit because they had actually one of the survivors go and speak to us before we started. And I mean, like, I don't want to talk too much about it because I'll end up crying on camera. It was extremely sad. I mean, it was a terrible thing that happened in the way that those POWs were treated. If you don't know anything about it, I'm not going to do it justice, trying to, you know, recount it anyway. So go and look it up. The Bataan Death March, absolutely horrific thing that happened. Really should, you know, hate the war, but don't hate the warrior, I guess, you know. Terrible thing. Treat POWs better, the world. Yeah, and you know, so it kind of brought me back to that. And then it brought me back to, which was a learning experience as far as like, wow, this is the kind of pain and everything I'm in just doing these 26 miles. Imagine going the distance that they did under the conditions and under the treatment that they were under as well. And I was like, man, those guys must have been made, tough as nails, truly. But the other thing that it kind of brought me back to, and this was kind of more my own personal story, was I was in a special operations training once upon a time, and I got hurt in training, and I like completely destroyed my hip. It was really terrible, and I was in a lot of pain for a long time, and I had to have surgery. And the reason why I bring this up is because, there was like a flip of a coin whether or not I was going to heal up properly from this surgery. And I had promised myself, and the universe, as it were, that I would not take it for granted. I wouldn't take it for granted again if I could be mobile the way that I was before I got hurt, or even a semblance of, okay, cool, you're never as young as you once were, sort of thing. But I couldn't really do much at all without being in pain for days. And I had a really beautiful moment, for myself. This was just kind of a me, clarity moment type thing. As much pain as I was in coming up the hill today, degraded from my normal rested self, blisters on my heels and so forth, sweating and trying to outrun the mosquitoes, my hip didn't hurt. And I was like, hey, you kept your promise again to yourself. And if you can't keep promises to yourself, then what are you doing? You need to do better for yourself so you can do better for others. But yeah, my hip didn't hurt on the way up, and that was a nice thing. Didn't hurt at all. So anyway, yep, we're up here and we're gonna glass around. Hopefully we'll meet up with my other hunting buddy today. We'll be a party of 3. We're gonna glass around and probably mostly enjoy the sights and the wind today. But wish us luck that our blisters don't get too big, and we managed to get back down the hill just fine, and maybe see some more animals.